Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. We have a great show for you today. First, the Delphi murder case continues, and we're going to have to see how those confessions work out because the rest of the evidence isn't exactly going the right way for the prosecutors. Bryan Kohberger's attorneys are filing their replies to take the death penalty off the table. Lori Vallow's briefing schedule in her appeal in Idaho is stopped. The au pair takes a deal in that double murder case. An Uber Eats driver gets a little aggressive. We have this day in legal history and our dumb criminal of the day. Let's talk about it.
Hi, lawyer.
Good day, everyone. My name is Scott Reich, and this is Crime Talk. Thanks for joining us. You know the drill. Subscribe if you haven't. Like if you do. Leave me a comment below. And make sure you hit that little bell so you receive notifications. And remember, you can check us out on any of your favorite podcasting apps. Now, before we get to the show, first, go to crimetalksearch.com. Sign up for that background subscription service today. Listen, if you're beginning to date somebody new is coming into your life. I don't care if it's somebody coming into your children's life. Go check out the parents, all right? You can sign up for this background subscription service. You can do as many background searches as you desire while you have this subscription. And remember, you can cancel at any time, but you're going to get all types of information. Where have these people lived? It's going to give them a history about who they are, their education, their usernames on social media, emails that they use on social media. If there is a criminal history, are they on a public registry? Do they have judgments against them? Have they filed for bankruptcy? Things that they're probably not going to bring out and tell you right off because they're trying to make a good impression. Well, don't be fooled. Go to crimetalksearch.com. Sign up for that background subscription today. All right, let's go ahead and open the record for October 29th, ladies and gentlemen. Can you believe it's October 29th, 2024? Where has the year gone? First on the docket, the Delphi case continues. Now, obviously, I don't know what to make of this case. I thought it was weak at first. Then we had all the issues that came out about the alleged confessions that Richard Allen made, stating that he killed Abby and Libby. If that's what the prosecution's hanging their hat on, we're going to have to wait and see, because right now it's not a lot of overwhelming evidence other than being on the bridge that generally during that time frame. Is he the bridge guy? Is Richard Allen the bridge guy? I don't know. I wish we'd be able to see this in court, but the judge, well, she thinks we're all a bunch of idiots and we can't handle what's taking place. But what we do know is that a witness testified that a pattern on the body there in Delphi, Indiana, specifically the murder victim Libby German, showed her blood was mixed with moisture. An officer testified in Richard Allen's case. Now, the officer said he believes that the moisture was Libby's tears, which obviously led the family members to react by crying in the courtroom. So Libby and her best friend, Abby Williams, were walking along the hiking trail there in rural Delphi, Indiana, when their throats were cut and they were left in the woods on February 13th of 2017. Their bodies being found the next day. Now, Richard Allen was arrested in 2022 and has pled not guilty to both murders. Now, late yesterday afternoon, we heard from Major Pat Cicero of the LaPorte County Sheriff's Department, and he took the stand. Now, Cicero was not at the crime scene back in 2017, but he was basically studied the crime scenes and testified as an expert. Now, obviously, it was a little emotional seeing all the photographs, and people in the courtroom apparently had to be told to maintain decorum. Anyway, Cicero showed the jury an image of a blood stain on a tree. He explained that it was a transfer stain, meaning that it was left behind when a bloody object touched it. Now, Cicero also testified that the bloodstains and patterns on the tree led him to believe that the attack on Libby started at the tree, with swipes of the weapon possibly causing the splatter onto the tree. Now, Libby died from her wounds in a large pool of blood while leaning against the tree, Mr. Cicero testified, and he said that he believes that she was then dragged about 20 feet to where ultimately her body was located. Now, Abby was likely restrained or unconscious when she was killed, according to Mr. Cicero, because there was no blood on her hands or arms, and she was found with her hands raised vertically. Now, her position is almost like she was boxing, is what he testified to. Now, Cicero said he had been to hundreds and hundreds of crime scenes and described the positions of Abby's body as very unusual, something he, in fact, had never seen. Now, he also said that Abby likely didn't die right away. This would have taken some time, he testified. And Allen has admitted to being on this hiking trail the day that the girls were killed, but denied any involvement in the actual murders. And we also heard from the Indiana State Police forensic scientist yesterday, Stacy Bosniski, that no DNA evidence tied Allen to the murder scene there in Delphi. Now, what we do know what happened today is that everybody showed up for court. They started as close as we could till about 9 o'clock. Some procedural matters took place, and the state introduced into evidence 2 video interviews with Mr. Allen, both from October 13th and October 26th of 2022. Now, the judge did tell the jury that parts of it were redacted because they did not pertain to the investigation, and that's normal. That's quite normal, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, the judge allows both videos, one with Ms. Mullins and Mr. Liggett, and the other with Mr. Holloman. Now, as the jury entered, the video is on the screen. Judge Gall says the jury was able to have supervised use of their phones last night, and they were able to look at work emails. Now, the state played the October 13th video first, and Mullins and Liggett explain in the video why they are talking to Mr. Allen. They read him his Miranda rights and tell him that he can leave at any time, and Mr. Allen says that he understood. Now, that's significant because then he's not under arrest. Technically, he doesn't need to be advised of his Miranda rights, but if he says something and then at the end of the interview they're going to arrest him, it's basically a belts and suspenders type of an approach there. Now, in the video, Mullen read Allen that they had learned from another interview with Allen back in February of 2017. Now, the 3 men joke about their ages and, going on about he's in the 50 club this year. And Allen gives his phone number to the investigator and tells him that he has an Android phone. Allen gives his email address. Mullins, the investigator, asks Allen if he uses Facebook, and Allen says, my wife does, but he doesn't. And Allen says in the video that he is married, has a daughter who was born in 1994. He says his daughter is also married. Her husband used to live in the Philippines and Canada, and they got married in 2017. Allen goes on to say that he graduated from high school in 1991, studied accounting at Ivy Tech before joining the military, and he says he played football in high school for a year and was not really an honor student. This is the softening up part of the interview where the detectives try to make you feel comfortable and that you're like a friend to them. Anyway, Allen goes on and says that he was in the National Guard and that he lived in Mexico, Indiana most of his life. And he says he does not consistently go to church and has no criminal record whatsoever. Now, has also had a heart attack back in 2010 at the young age of 37. And he says in the video that he suffers from depression and anxiety. Now, Allen tells the investigators in the video that he's worked at the CVS pharmacy since 2013 and previously worked at a location in Peru, Indiana. He says he's worked for Walmart for 10 years before that, and that's because he was tired of the bureaucracy. Now, Mullins then brings up February of 2017. Allen says he was at his mom's in Peru while his wife was working, and he left at about 11:15 a.m. He said he then went home and got a jacket, even though it was warm out. And Allen said he walked down to the Monon High Bridge, went on a little bit of a platform and watched the fish. Allen says that he then left. He says he parked either on the bridge side or near the smaller bridge, and then they showed him a map of the area, and Mullins explains where things are on the map. Allen says he didn't go out at all that often, but that day it varied, and that he had gone out a time or two in the winter months. Now, Mullins then asks Allen if there were any other way he would have driven to get there. Allen says maybe, but really they've always took the same route through downtown. So Allen then says he was driving downtown a few days after the girls died when the natural resource officers called and they agreed to meet at the Save-A-Lot. Allen said that he thought about it a lot because he was probably there around those girls at about that time. Now, Allen also says that he told Dolan he saw 3 girls. He thought one was babysitting 2 of the girls, and he thought they all basically looked alike. Anyway, apparently Richard Allen was shaking his head in the courtroom, and in the video, Allen said there were two cars at the end of the trail near the entrance, a sedan and an SUV. Allen said that he left between 1:30, maybe 1:45-ish, and Allen says in the video that he worked a Walmart community event near the trails years ago and also worked near the Carlton Bridge on the community service that day. Now, Allen says there were no vehicles where he parked on February 13th of 2017, and Mullins asked how far out on the bridge he went that day. He said he wasn't sure how many feet it was, but really never went past the first pattern. Then Liggett asks him how and where he walked to get on the bridge. Allen doesn't give a clear answer, and Allen explains that he had a red Ford car before he got the black car. Now, Mullins again asks about him seeing three girls. Allen says he did not see anyone else while on the trails, and he was walking towards the girls. He says, I don't remember seeing anyone that day. If I did, they don't stand out to me. Now, Allen says in the video that he had an individual stock trading account, and he was trying to get rich. Now, Allen says in the video that was a hobby, referring to the question about the stock trading. Now, Mullen asks, what was he wearing that day? Allen said he was wearing a blue jeans, a back-off brand Carhartt jacket. Now, Liggett asked in the video if he was wearing a hat. Allen said that if he was, it would have been like a skull cap that he kept in his jacket pockets. Now, Allen says he was wearing either tennis shoes or some sort of combat boot, work boot kind of thing. And Mullen is seen texting during the interview. Now, Mullins asks Allen about the phone he had in 2017. And he says he doesn't know, but he says he has his current phone for several years. Now, the detective then asks Allen if he has a photo of his car and that if they can confirm some of the information by searching his home and extracting data from his phone. They ask if they can do that immediately. Allen asks, well, how long are you going to have my phone? Liggett asks him what service provider he has, and he says, well, it is uses Ting, which is based on Verizon, apparently. Liggett asks about what service provider he had back in 2017, and he said that he can extract that information from his current phone. Then Mullins then reads another round of Miranda rights as it pertains to the cell phone extraction. Allen says in the video, I don't want to be someone else's fall guy. I thought we were talking, I haven't, thought about this in a long time. I don't want you guys to get someone from the public so we can close this thing. Allen says, starting to feel like you think I'm the main lead here. Liggett says, we decided to pick through this from the very beginning. There's no fall guy. Well, if you think I might have actually done this and you want to get a warrant or something, that's fine, Allen said. Allen agrees then to look through his current phone and says that he will look at the phone he had back in 2017. Allen decides not to sign anything until he speaks to his wife. Allen says in the video, am I an angel of a person? No, but I guess I just don't want you looking through every website I've ever checked. He says he's worried that we'll find some piece close to fitting and make it fit. I don't think you're coming after me, Allen says. I want closure for the family as much as anybody else. Kathy Allen, Richard Allen's wife, apparently was getting quite upset while watching this video in the courtroom. Allen says in the video that he would not want people going through his home. And he says, quote, we're here because we haven't found the guy who did this, and I don't want to become that guy. Now, Allen says there's nothing to tie me. I'm not worried. I had nothing to do with it. And if anything useful to you, I would give it to you, whatever I had. The detective then explains in the video why they went to look at his car. Allen talks about watching Dateline every week with his wife and doesn't want to be that story. Allen says then to the investigators, this is out of left field, guys. I'm going to talk to my wife before I do anything. This impacts her more than it impacts me. Well, both the detectives, Mullins and Liggett, step out of the room. Allen checks his phone. They return and show him photos of his car, and they go into the trail. Mullins says, we've been able to talk to your wife and daughter, and Mullins says his wife and daughter described Allen's mental health issues. Mullins shows Allen a picture of the bridge guy. Mullins asks if this is you. Allen says, I was going to go shoot myself one night. I don't have psychological issues because I went out and killed two girls. Now, apparently, Allen's wife during this testimony is literally crying and sobbing in the courtroom. Now, Mullins then asks in the video, why is this information showing us one thing, but you're saying another? Allen says, I feel like he's being interrogated. What info do you have, he asks. You have that I was out there? I told you that. Well, after cutting the video, Liggett then says, we have people that saw you. Liggett then leaves the room. Allen says, you're trying to change my words around. Mullen then asks the question, is this you? Allen replies, no. Mullen says in the video, you were out there to do this to those girls. You were there trying to introduce them to someone. Allen continues to deny these allegations. Allen says, arrest me or take me home. I'm done. You're not going to find anything that connects me to the murders. You've lost my trust. You've pissed me off. In the video, Allen gets up and leaves. And apparently there was laughter in the courtroom when this takes place. Anyway, then the court took their morning recess. Interesting, ladies and gentlemen. Interesting. As you can see, the cops kind of butter you up a little bit, make you feel like we're friends, everything's going to be okay. And then they start playing the bad cop, and then they start accusing you, you did it. You were out there to set these girls up with somebody, weren't you? Admit it. He's like, no, and I'm out of here. Wish he had talked to a lawyer beforehand. Now the question's going to become, really, what credibility do these other statements where he's allegedly confessed to his wife come in? What weight is the jury going to give them? Next, the Bryan Kohberger case. Yeah, that's right. We haven't talked about that in a couple days, but their attorneys are filing their replies to all of the death penalty litigation. Now, there are almost too many motions to go through, but they have the reply to the motion to the strike the aggravators, reply to objection to strike on speedy trial grounds, doesn't permit effective assistance of counsel, reply to objection to strike future dangerous aggravators, reply to objection to strike means of execution, reply to objection to motion to strike multiple victims, reply to objection to motion to strike neutral fact finder, reply to objection to motion to strike utter disregarded aggravators, reply to objection to strike arbitrariness, reply to objection to motion to trifurcate the proceedings, amended notice of the state's notice to intent to seek the death penalty. All right. Now, what does that mean, ladies and gentlemen? What does that really mean? This is what you anticipate in death penalty litigation cases. Okay. Now, most of these are going to be denied, if not all of them, but it's what goes on. Okay. Bryan Kohberger's defense attorneys, their goal here is to beat, obviously, the case, but really, in a death penalty case, is you try to get the death penalty taken off the table at first. I've told you in my case, I've only done one death penalty case, and we were able to convince them before them deciding to go death. Otherwise, we would have been engaging in all of this litigation. That's what death penalty litigation is. It is attacking everything. It's attacking the constitutionality of the death penalty, changing societal standards, you name it. And I bring this up because we saw in Idaho, the Lori Vallow and the Chad Daybell case, there was none of this litigation at all. And I bring that up because, particularly in the Chad Daybell matter, I guarantee you there will be claims of ineffective assistance of counsel for not engaging in this type of litigation. The judge Mr. Pryor tried to get off the Chad Daybell case, in that particular matter, but he decided to stay on because he got pissed. Well, guess what? The judge could have appointed him death-qualified defense attorneys, but he didn't do so for Chad Daybell. And so I think it's just a preview of what is coming in that particular matter. Now, we brought you the news the other day that Lori Vallow's case in Arizona, where she's charged with murder of husband number 4, Charles Vallow, as well as another attempted case of her niece's husband at the time, Mr. Boudreaux, has been stayed because the defense attorneys filed a motion to have a competency evaluation done on her again. Remember, in Idaho, she was found to be incompetent, and then she was restored to competency 10 months later. Well, guess what? The proceedings in Idaho, her appellate briefs were due the other day, and a new motion was filed by her defense attorneys basically saying, stop everything because we are missing transcripts from April 3rd and 4th and 5th and 6th of 2023. And the court reporter apparently has never got it done. And therefore, the attorneys for Lori Vallow said, stop everything. We need to redo the briefing schedule. And guess what? The Supreme Court said, well, you're right. And it's ordered that they can augment the record. It means get these transcripts as quickly as possible. And the appellate proceedings are suspended until the transcripts that I just mentioned are filed with the court. But the Supreme Court told that court reporter, you better get those lodged within 7 days so we can get this case moving along. Welcome to appellate practice, ladies and gentlemen. There's always something that delays it. That's why all these things take forever on appeal. All right, next let's talk about the au pair case. Yes, yesterday, Juliana Perez Magalhães, brushing up on my Portuguese, pled guilty to manslaughter for the February 24th, 2023 shooting death of Joseph Ryan Steve Descano there in Virginia. Now, the attorney for the state said the information that led to the agreement could not be made public due to an upcoming trial of Brendan Banfield. Last month, Brendan Banfield was indicted in the deaths of Ryan and his wife, Christine Banfield. Investigators have said the murders were part of a larger scheme between Brendan and Magalhães, who were having an affair, and Magalhães was hired as an au pair for the family. And then on the day of the killings, Magalhães called 911 at least 3 times, hanging up twice before reporting the emergency on the 3rd call. Brendan then spoke on the phone and said that he had shot a man because the man stabbed his wife. Well, prosecutors said that Brendan and Magalhães, the au pair, continued their relationship after the killings, and the au pair was arrested back in October of 2023 for the death of Ryan. She was set to face trial in November and has obviously come to an agreement to help herself. What have we said, and how many times do we have to keep saying it, ladies and gentlemen? The threat of imminent incarceration tends to break the bonds of loyalty, right? The au pair, she's in custody the whole time. He's out of custody until just last month. Yeah, she's thinking, you never call, you never write, you don't put money on my books. Screw you. The threat of imminent incarceration. And if you got somebody in that situation, ladies and gentlemen, you need to take care of them. You need to take care of them. Otherwise, they turn on you. Remember that. That's from the criminal defense perspective, all right? Happens all the time. I tell people, you find out who your friends are. Anybody putting money on your books for you while you've been in here? No. Guess they think you are expendable. That's what the au pair was, apparently, to her lover. Anyway, an Uber driver, a 29-year-old Uber driver, Uber Eats specifically, in Florida, allegedly spit in a customer's face and then stole hundreds of dollars of outdoor decorations from the victim's home after she confronted the driver about stealing food from her bag before it was delivered. Come on, Uber drivers get hungry too, you know. Anyway, Alexandra de Valle Acosta Aguilar was taken into custody last week and charged with 1 count of burglary and assault and 1 count of grand theft from a dwelling greater than $100. Now, according to the probable cause affidavit, on the evening of September 12th of 2024, the female victim ordered food to be delivered to her house via Uber Eats. And at about 11:56 p.m., the victim said she observed the delivery driver, later identified as Acosta Aguilar, removing food from the bag that she had ordered. When the victim went outside, she noticed that Acosta Aguilar was holding a decorative sign from the outside of her home that read, "Happy Fall, y'all." The victim then removed the sign from the suspect's possession, and the suspect began a verbal altercation with the victim prior to intentionally spitting on the victim against her will. Now, police immediately responded after being a report of being spit on, and the victim covered her with the sign and retreated to the furthest point from the suspect before being stopped by the front door that was closed. The suspect then took possession of the decorative garden sign valued at $10 and began to walk to her vehicle. The victim said that she saw a decorative column from her yard near Acosta's car. They allegedly loaded the victim's property into the car and then drove away before the police could arrive. Immediately after the altercation, the victim said she was also missing additional outdoor decorative items valued $300. Police quickly found that Acosta Aguilar was employed through Uber Eats, and a car that the victim described was registered to her as well. Anyway, officers went to Miss Acosta Aguilar's residence, and she confirmed that she did deliver food to the victim's address on the night of the incident. Police said the victim's description and the suspect matched Acosta Aguilar, and based upon the employment records and statement from the victim, guess what? She was placed under arrest. She is currently being held at the Polk County Jail. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Uber drivers everywhere, keep your hands to yourself. Don't touch other people's food, but also, if they touch your food, just cancel it. Don't confront them. Don't confront anybody these days, ladies and gentlemen. It's a crazy world out there. You could get spit on, or you could get something much worse, stabbed, shot. You never know. On this date, in October 29, 1965, the Supreme Court heard arguments in Schember v. California's landmark case regarding the Fourth Amendment and self-incrimination. The court ultimately ruled that forced blood draws do not violate the Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination, but you do have to go get a probable cause warrant to do that. Obviously, this affected rulings on search and seizure law for years and years to come. And finally today, we have dumb criminal. Two of them, actually. We got one dumb criminal and then a bonus one. All right? Take a look at this video. You can see the man drops off the package. It looks like he's an Amazon guy, drops off the package at the door. Then this unidentified woman walks by. And then she thinks she's going to be sneaky. But she notices there's a doorbell camera on the apartment or the condo, whatever it is. Look at her. What an idiot, trying to slide the package with a broom and not be identified. Little does she know she's all over the camera. Unidentified woman stealing the package from your neighbor. You are a dumb criminal of the day. Now we have a bonus for you today. Take a look at this. Next time you think you're going to illegally park, particularly in front of a fire hydrant, remember this picture, ladies and gentlemen. Remember this picture. Don't do it. And besides, it is a gateway crime, ladies and gentlemen. First, you're parking in front of fire hydrants. Next thing you know, you're parking in handicap spots. Next thing you know, you're not returning your shopping cart to the little aisle where they need to go when you're done. It's a scary road, ladies and gentlemen. Slippery slope. Don't do it. All right, that's all we have for you today, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on Crime Talk. Have a wonderful day. And remember, the Constitution matters.